Good morning, everyone. Glad you're here for this Ashtanga mix. Before we get going, I wanted to mention. There we go. It synced up. Awesome. I was just telling Art when he came in with the Tennessee hat, he missed our practice on Monday where we were celebrating the Tennessee win against Bama. Not really. We brought it back to yoga. And it was all about loyalty and how loyalty is a combination of discipline and devotion, and how discipline and devotion are actually yogic principles, and how could we apply that to our practice as well as life. So today we're kind of switching gears, and Monday morning I also came in noticing when I was teaching, my breath was a little off and my heart kept racing. And I realized after the class, I was like, oh yeah, my nervous system is out of whack because my son now has his permit. And we moved to Nashville. And so when I take him to his school, which is Nashville School of the Arts, which is very close to downtown, we're dealing with rush hour traffic going and coming, but he has to practice, you know? So I'm letting him practice driving me to and from his school. And he's doing great. I don't want to say that he's not doing good, but you know, I'm having to remind him. He's like, Mom, I don't know why you keep reacting. I'm not going to have an accident. I'm like, can you please hear what you just said? Because an accident is an accident. No one intends to wreck. So take that out of your vocabulary and really pay attention. But I'm also discovering, because we're dealing with rush hour traffic, you know, I want you to consider how you tend to drive yourself through life. Because sometimes we're just fast and furious, and other times we're slow and cautious, right? And that's kind of how we have to be when we're actually driving the car during rush hour traffic. There's times where we have to be slow and cautious, and there's other times where we have to be a little aggressive if no one's letting us in the lane that we need to be in, right? So there's times for both, and I realize that. But I want you to consider, how is your driving force on your mat with your practice? Because sometimes as I'm instructing as a teacher and I'm observing all the students, sometimes I'll see someone really wanting to be aggressive with their headstands or handstands, and that is not the time to be aggressive. You really want to make sure that you have your body awareness in check, you have the proper muscles strong enough, and that you're moving into it in a mindful way versus a reckless way, right? And our breath, which is the heart of yoga, is our fuel. So it's really important to stay connected to your breath from the beginning to the end, so that you're giving your body the sustenance that it needs. You're giving the body the energy that it needs to go through this practice. So with that being said, let's sit and center, and we're going to sit and breathe. So when you sit up and create some better posture, notice when you uplift the breastbone, the shoulders will naturally start to hang back. And then continue to allow the crown of the head to rise up towards the heavens. So close your eyes. Now that you have aligned your spine, notice if it's taking any effort, and where is that effort happening? Maybe you feel some heat starting to warm up the belly. Maybe you feel some of your back muscles waking up while you're sitting erect. And now you checked in physically, start to take a hold of your breath. The Buddhists will often say that the mind is like a restless horse. And the reins of the breath can help to slow and calm it down. So let the breath connect you to your body, but also begin to slow down the mind. that the mind and body are more unified. Through this unification, you'll be able to pay attention to the messages, to the warnings, even to the encouragements as we explore these positions. Now that you've been creating a more rhythmic type breath, crack the lids of the eyes open. We'll go ahead and come away from the seat. We'll come up to stand at the top of the mat, and we're going to get right into it today. So look down at your feet. Line up your toes so they're facing directly ahead, ankles, knees, hips aligned. Stack your leg bones, zip up through your belly, and bring your hands together to prayer. As you inhale, circle the arms wide and up to Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. When you fall down to Uttanasana, you're going to inhale, come up halfway, elongate the vertebrae. And as you exhale, plant your hands, step it back, plank, rock forward, lower down to Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, lift to upward facing dog. Exhale, roll back over your toes, downward facing dog. As your head hangs between the arms, gaze in the direction of the feet, the Parivardrashna. Press into your hands primarily and your feet as well, so that your sits bones are lifting up in a lofty manner. As you're breathing, try to fill up the back of the lungs. Just as we experience the ballooning in the belly when we're breathing diaphragmatically, you may experience that in the back body when you're doing your Ujjayi Pranayama. On your next in-breath, let's bring the feet to the top of the mat. Let's rise up halfway, create some space. And then exhale, close the gap as you drop back in. Inhale, coming all the way up with your arms. And exhale to Samasthiti. All right, we continue with a few more of these. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. Good, exhale, you can swan dive or bring your hands together as you lower. Inhale, lifting halfway. Exhale, Chaturanga. So you can pass through plank first, or you can bounce back into that one singular pose. Yogi's choice. When we enter into these asanas, but being in the question of how you're driving this vehicle of body right now. And give yourself the fuel that you need by focusing and holding it on your breath. On your next inhale, come to Ardha Uttanasana at the top. You can meditationally walk, lunge, or float the feet together. And then go ahead and bow out as you breathe out. Inhale, root to rise. Exhale, reset and recenter, Samasthiti. All right, continue on. Inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sprout up, look out with your eyes. And exhale, you can pass through plank or you can bounce back to Chaturanga, whatever you desire to do today. Once you open the heart, roll it back to downward facing dog. Be at one with your breath. Listen to your breath as you control the breath. Inhale to Ardha Uttanasana, top of the mat. And then as you exhale, close into self, releasing belly, chest, face. Inhale, coming all the way up, fingertips on the rise. Chin parallel to the floor, and exhale, Samasthiti. All right, we're gonna do another. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, drop and lower, hovering until you breathe in, and then give yourself a boost up. Good, exhale, use your core to roll back. Now hold and breathe. Inhale, land the feet at the top of the mat, extend long through the spine. Exhale, bow out. Inhale to the top. Exhale, hands to heart. All right, we're moving into beast embryonic scars. Now, when you bend your knees, take the arms up. And then as you exhale, fold over straight legs. Inhale, open up. Exhale, take chaturanga, that four-limb staff pose. Low push-up. Inhale, drive the heart up, elongate the neck. Exhaling, downward facing dog. From here, inhale, right foot steps through between the hands. Back heel lowers, and we rise. Palms face each other, maybe even spiral the pinkies in more towards your temples. Glue down that back foot. Exhale, plant your palms, step it back. Take the vinyasa, and remember, if your energy gets low, you can always do child's or hold down dog instead. From down dog, left foot steps through, back heel drapes down, come it up. Virabhadrasana 1, rolling the back hip forward and rolling the front thigh out. Exhale, lower. Inhale, step back. Exhale, hands down. Inhale, drive up. Exhale, rock and roll back. This time we hold and breathe. So with this particular style that we're doing today, we start off with sun salutations to work from the solar plexus to build up the inner heat. I have been listening to a couple light workers lately who have the ability to see beyond the veil. And they're saying that we are receiving a new light code in the solar plexus around this date, this weekend, around the eclipse. One of my psychic friends was already feeling it yesterday. Inhale, feet land at the top of the mat. So if you feel a little extra pulsation in your belly, it could be that extra light code. Fold in. Inhale, chair pose, knees bent, arms lift. Exhale, hands to hearts. All right, we continue to warm up the body. Inhale, chair. Exhale, straight legs. Inhale, little pick me up, head and heart. Exhale, chaturanga. You can step through or bounce back. Right foot, warrior 1. Take your time. In the experience of this pose, feel as though you're pulling support up from the earth and you're receiving support down from the cosmos. Release the hands. Step it back. Continue on. Beautiful blend of strength and flexibility here. Left foot, warrior 1. Captivated by your breath. Exhale, hands down. Next, Vinyasa. Holding and breathing in this third down dog in the midst. Next in breath, feet land at the top. Open the heart center. Exhale, straight down. Inhale, chair, Utkatasana. Exhale, Samasthiti. All right, we're just going to do one more of those today before we go into standing poses. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, straight. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, straight arms. Exhale, go back over the toes. Inverts. Right foot steps through warrior one. You can always lift the right leg to get a little momentum. Right, just like you're switching lanes, you might have to build that momentum up to arrive to the place you need to be. Exhale, hands down. Right foot back. Drop them down. Inhale, extend the spine. Exhale, roll back. Left foot, warrior one. You are pressing into the feet, just like you would be using the pedals in the car. Except this time you're using both left and right. Exhale, release. Last vinyasa for now. So now that we've been building up some internal heat, now that we've been warming up some muscles, we're going to take some poses and hold for a bit longer. Let's complete the sun salve first. So inhale, Ardha Uttanasana at the top. Exhale, Uttanasana seconds. Third, Utkatasana, coming to chair. Completing it with this step of Samasthiti. All right, separate your feet or hop them apart. Hands to the hips, shoulders roll back, and then we fold. As you fold, eventually release your hands, create the peace mudra around each big toe. Use your thumbs to push down into the toenails, and then fan the elbows out, away from your body. Maybe even slightly tuck the chin towards your chest. If that strains the neck, leave it out. So yes, you're probably experiencing hamstrings, but we're also decompressing the low back, bringing energy and blood flow to the sensory organs. But this mudra is helping to stimulate the pituitary gland located in the head. Inhale the takoya. Exhale, you're going to take your palms, open them up, and slide them underneath the soles of the feet. It's okay to bend the knees to get your hands to the floor. And if you have flexible hamstrings, see if you can shine your seat up a little bit higher. Maybe open the back of the knees a little bit more. Again, not forcing, just see what's available. I love hearing the breath. All right, we're going to come out of Padahastasana by removing each hand one at a time. Stack them to your waist and slowly climb up. And bring the feet together. All right, step two. Okay, usually we step to the right, but if you guys want to see me, you may want to step to your left. It doesn't matter which. You just won't be mirroring each other. Right foot rotates 90 degrees to the short edge of the mat. Good, the arms float up, shoulder heights. We're going to triangle. We press back through the hips. We stretch out over that front thigh. And then we windmill the arms down to triangle. Now I want to think long linear lines. Not just through the legs, not just through the arms, but through the shaft of the spine. There was a famous yogi who once said, the winds of grace are always available, but it's up to us as individuals to raise our sail. So I often think of that quote in this pose. Inhale, let's use the left arm to come up, rotate the right foot in, rotate the left foot out. Good, lengthen out over the left leg, windmill down to triangle, create your sail. Bury down the big toes on each foot. That will help to stabilize your knees. Remember, there's different areas to look here. You can keep the neck neutral, or you can turn the gaze up, or you can even turn the gaze down. Inhale, draw up. Exhale, relax your arms. Left foot rotates in, right foot rotates out. Okay, now this is important. We're gonna get stuck if we leave that back foot. So it's important that we offset it, turn the foot in so we can even out the hips. Once you have that down, left arm's gonna reach overhead. You're gonna start to spiral the belly towards the right leg as you lower the right hand to the floor, block, or yourself, your body, somewhere. The right arm can stay connected to the hip, or you can lengthen it up towards the sky. This is a more complicated pose. It's a revolving twist. Make sure your breath is still open and available. Good, inhale, come up. Stay cautious. Now, pivot your feet. Offset the right foot. Square the hips. And let your right arm now extend. Good, exhale, cross it over towards your left foot. Twist through the barrel of the chest and maybe free up that left hand. Harita, Trikonasana. Affirming here, energy and joy flow down to me. Exhale, lower the hand. Inhale, drive yourself up. Cautiously. Beautiful. Now, we're going to turn the feet again, parallel. Now, remember when we offset the foot, that actually narrowed the distance between the feet. So you want to make sure there's a little bit more distance again. Go ahead and float your arms up, 5-point star. Rotate your right foot. Lunge the right knee. Good, that's warrior two. But we're going into side angle. So rest your elbow on your knee. Sail that left arm up. Or possibly over your ear. You can do either one. Put strength in your back leg. Put strength behind your breath. And then affirm mentally, I am a power of boundless strength. Inhale, gently come up. Lift that right arm, turn the right foot, rotate your left foot. Good, lunge that knee. Good, now go ahead and prop onto that thigh. Right arm sailing straight up or angle it across the ear. Breathe. Inhale, draw up. Exhale, relax your arms, turn the left foot in, turn the right foot out. Spin off the back heel, crank yourself around so the left elbow is to the outside of your right knee or thigh bone. The palms kept together, but lift the right elbow, the pit of that arm open. Exhale, unwind. Plant the back foot, come up. All right, here we go, the other side. Pivoting the feet, lunging the left knee, revolving into your twist. Good, exhale, unwind, but this time bring your hands down to the mat. You're gonna swivel the feet. And then you're gonna fold straight down in the middle, Prasarita, Pada Uttanasana. So notice if you're pronating or supinating the feet, try to have them equally weighed down and balanced between the inner and outer edges. And then inhale, walk your hands forward, lift your head and heart halfway. Nice. Take your hands to your hips, drive it up. Lace your hands together behind your back. We're going to the C version. Shoulders roll back. The next one forward. Fold. Next to your breath. Breath is what will help us to shift gears from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system. And most often we're living in the sympathetic, the stressed out states. Because we're doing an active practice. An active practice isn't going to get you there, but your breath will. All right, turn the foot closest to the front of the room and then step up to the room. All right, take a moment just to stretch out your feet. Practice thing. We're using a lot of muscles there. All right, step your right foot back. You're still facing the front. Both hip points are facing the front of the room. And then what you're going to do is you're going to see if it's possible to bring the fingertips together in the low back and wiggle them up together towards your mid back. If that's not possible, then just loop and cross your arms, okay? Either way, lift your chest, lean your head back, and as you exhale, start to fold. Take your time going into the pose. You're trying to keep that front leg as straight as possible, but you're not forcing that knee to lock. So it's okay to have a little soft bend in it. Squeeze the left hip in and under. Notice how that levels out your shoulders. And then inhale, coming out of pyramid. Releasing your arms and stepping up. Nice. Now step back with your left foot. So this is where, if reverse namaste was too much, too hard, if you cross your arms, crisscross the other way. This is fighting too much on you. No, it's okay. No. All right, inhale, open the chest, open your chest. And then exhale, you're going to mindfully flow down and out over the right leg, looking towards the foot. That strains your neck, you can look towards your knee instead, but squeeze the right hip in and under. Feel that IT band stretch. Stay consistent with your breath. Good, release your arms. Step up to the front. All right, we're ready to bring it down a notch. So bend the knees. Take the arms to your sides and up overhead, maybe gaze up towards your hands. If this feels really awkward or doesn't work well for you, you're going to do regular chair like this, okay? So you can do either form, but breathe. Exhale, release down, Uttanasana. We're going to do a Vinyasa to bring it to the floor. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Notice if you start dropping your weight into your shoulders, see if you can keep lengthening up and out of your shoulders, up and out through your sideways, up and out through your sits bones. All right, when you're ready, lower your right knee. Pick up your left foot, spin it around, and cautiously sit down to see if this is going to work for you. It might not work for you because this is a lot, okay? If you need to sit on, a prop, a bolster, a blanket, a block, whatever, that can be helpful. But we're trying to be on the top of the right foot. All right, flex the left foot, lift the arms up, exhale forward, fold. You don't always fit this one in. And you have a bunion like me, it can be a bit much for the big toe. So sometimes, like your mat is a little thicker and cushier, it might be better. But if you don't have a cushier mat and it becomes like painful, you can always slip, even one of those towels that Jen provides or a blanket. If you have old yoga mat that you don't use, you can cut it up and use scrap mats as knee pads or for situations like this so that they work wonderfully. So don't throw away your old mat. Inhale, gently. Lean onto that left hip because you're going to release the right foot. Now in front, we're going to keep bent. All right, the right arm is going to lift and it's going to launch forward, but to the inside of the knee. Okay, other arm, yeah. And then what we're going to do, feel like you're getting your arm twisted, 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 twisted. Keep rotating until it binds. You got it. Now lengthen your left arm out in front. Exhale, spin that hand behind your back. Maybe the hands can actually meet. Don't worry if they can't. You're still in the pose. Notice if that left knee wants to rise. Mine is too. But push down through your left thigh bone instead of letting it float up. Shine the heart out. Gently release that bind up. And go ahead and scoop that right foot over Janu Shirshasana. All right, arms lift back overhead. Notice how it really helps to bring length out of your pelvis. Exhale, forward fold. Didn't have music on, it's just not up very loud. Inhale, let's slowly come up. We're going to scoop up underneath that right foot. Okay, once you scoop under it, see if it can cross over to your left thigh for half lotus. If it's too much, just set the foot back down. It's not worth it. All right, now a little trick of the trade. If I were just to do this, I'd only go so far. But if I do this and gaze back, right, then I can actually connect to the foot and hold it, and then turn back to face the front. So if you try that trick, you may or may not reach the foot, but you will go farther with that arm line. You got it. Grab whatever you can, turn the heart back to face me, lift the left arm skyward, exhale forward, fold. and halfway up. All right, we're gonna take this hand over to the bent knee. Yep, we're gonna release the back arm and lift it up. And then as we exhale, we're gonna lower out over the straight leg. So this is a very blended pose here. We've got the hamstring work. We've got a side bend. We've got a twist. There's a lot happening. Then inhale, draw up. Exhale, unwind. All right. So we're going to go ahead. We haven't done this pose in a couple weeks. If your foot is capable of staying here, slide your foot back, but notice this occurrence. So you'll need to lean onto the right sit bone to get the knee lower. If you get here and you're like, that hurts my ankle, my knee can't handle that flexion, or this is, I can't breathe in it, right? You're just going to drop your foot down and let it sit behind your left ankle. No problem. And I'm just going to do it the simple way today too, so you can join me. Left arm lifts up, and we're going to reach it forward. Now that same bind that we did with the right knee, we're doing it now with the left knee. You got it. And then reach the right arm forward. We circle that hand around behind the back. Same approach as before. But then we lower the head, which is a little different. Now that arm that's bound around that left knee, you can actually use your arm strength to hug it and tuck it in a little closer. Now we want to keep the arms bound behind the back as we come up. But on your next inhale, you're going to keep your arms behind your back. You're going to start lifting the right shoulder, lifting the heart, and then eventually lifting your head, and then turning back to gaze over the right shoulder. Yeah. This is one of those more pretzel-y type positions that we can get ourselves in yoga. All right, exhale, unwind from that twist. We're moving the hands apart, letting go of the bind. You can stretch the right leg out. Now we're getting into this differently than we did before. So take your left hand to the top, to the front side of your shin. And then you can just pull that foot back, and sit on top of the foot. One side may work well, one side may not. Discover if you need a prop to sit on. And notice how just sitting, we get kind of collapse. So let's open up and stretch through the upper body and then pour over the lower body. Slowly back onto the right hip. Reposition the left foot in front. Knee's going to be bent. Left arm's going to lift, and then we launch it out. And then we turn the hand, keep turning, twisting that arm. Yeah. So you got that bind. Then the right arm will reach out. Hand will circle behind the back. Spilling out over the right knee. Gazing out towards the foot unless it strains the neck, and then you can look towards the knee. Inhale, slowly rising. Slip the left foot on over to the inner thigh and reach the arms up towards the sky. When you're ready, forward fold, Vinyasa, head of the knee pose. Next inhale, back out of Vinyasa. We're going to move towards half Padmasana, half lotus, scooping underneath the foot. One side may be doable, the other side may not. Look down if you're able to do this. Look at your heel and line it up with your belly button. So that way the foot's not going too far over. And then we'll circle that left arm behind the back. Again, it's helpful to take that twist. You may be able to grab that foot and then reach the right arm. Exhale, forward fold. So if you study the basic philosophy of yoga, you know, there's a lot of principles like do no harm, do not lie, speak truth, practice cleanliness, be devoted. You know, there's like at least 10 of them. And one of those is non-attachment, which is about letting go. You can see if you really study this Ashtanga primary series formula, there's a lot of forward folds. So it's about releasing and letting go, releasing and letting go. And then the second primary series is more back bending, it's more opening up. All right, inhale it slowly. Come up. All right, let's take the right hand over to the bent knee. The left arm's gonna reach overhead, and we're gonna lower out over that head. A couple of the things that are hard to let go of are expectations and control. I'm thinking about my child driving right now. In the passenger seat, you can't control the brakes. I want you to think about how this is applicable to your life, to your circumstances that you're inundated in or facing right now. Up. Solid line twist, and you can try to stay here. And if you're here, then you can beat, but if it's awkward, and just let it go. Right arm reaches out, and then twisting to create that bind. Once you have it bound, the left arm can wrap behind you. As we come up, we're going to keep the arms bound behind us. So you may want to start lifting the left shoulder first, coming onto the right sit bone eventually, then elevating the heart, and then elevating the head, and then turning the head to look over the left shoulder. Maybe looking sharply through the left corner of the eyes, which is called Parsva Drishti. Slowly release the lines. Good. Crisscross the ankles. We're going to bring the hands forward, step the feet back, length. move through a vinyasa. This will be our last vinyasa. Then I want you to look forward towards your hands. Step the feet just behind the hands. Come down into Vinyasa squat. All right, so when you're in squat, you can look my direction and I'm going to give you a couple of directives and then I'm going to give you the liberty to choose which one you want to play around with, okay? So we're going to play around with an arm balance. So maybe you want to move here, turning the feet, lifting the hips, shifting the elbows or knees to the elbows, floating the feet in crow. Maybe that's the arm balance you want today. Maybe you want the Ashtanga one where the hands come back to the ankles, you squeeze the legs to the arms, and you flex to float the feet more together, and you can even straighten out through the legs after that. So find one of those poses that you want to explore today. Crow, you'll be lifting the hips. You got to get your tail feathers up. And then, yes, that's it, Jay. And then I would lift the head up. And then lift the head up. Good. Nice start. Sweet, guys. All right, now you can rock back onto your feet. Down to your seats. Draw the knees together. Lift your hands underneath the crease of the knees. Lift the feet. Maybe release the arms. You can keep the arms there if you need it. Jenny, have you done front work? That looks so good. I was impressed. Wow. All right, let's feet together, knees apart, fold over the feet. This is where I'm mixing it up a little bit here at the end. Legs together. Hands underneath the knees. Flex and float the feet. You also can straighten your legs. Hand hold or not. And every breath is infinite power. Separate the legs, bring them down, and fold. Oh, my stomach. Extending out your exhalation is longer than your inhalation. We worked on clouds and shoulder stands on Monday. So we're going to split the shoulder stand series in this class today. We're going to come up, draw the legs together. Shake out the legs. Let's see how much time we've got. Okay. We'll do the twist after the headstand. All right, let's do, or try, to work on our handstands. So if you want to go to a wall, just send your mat all the way to the wall. That way you have the wall as your prop. And then remember, we have this yoga lift over here that we can spin around. It's facing the wrong direction right now, but we can also use that. So if you don't need or want the pressure on your head or any stress in the cervical part of your neck, don't go up. After I show you how to get up and instruct you, I'll come over to the yoga lift and then I can work with you on getting up into that. But if you want to try it this way, I would come down to hands and knees. Make sure the middle finger is like touch the wall. And then make sure your hands can wrap around your elbows. And if you have that measurement, then it's safe to lace the hands. To puff into the upper back like a cat stretch, I crawl the knees forward towards the face, set the head down. So engage your deltoids, your triceps, your core, walking the feet towards the face. Lifting one leg, then the other, finding that wall for support. And then once the legs are together, you can point the toes. And then if you have trouble getting up, I can kind of instruct and try to help. Yeah, I don't need help. That looks great. There you go. That's great. Now, if you soften your knees, walk your feet in more. Start to feel the hips on there. Good. I love it. I haven't seen anybody being reckless today. Beautiful work. Beautiful, beautiful work. We got plenty of twisting. You really don't need the final twist. We got the final inversion. If you want to do legs up the wall, you can, because you're here. Yeah. You can do that for Shavasana. Remember, if you get into it, it's better to be in a side field position at the edge of the mat, and you can just roll on. If you prefer the corpse pose, you can do that instead. If you feel like you're too far away from the wall, you can shoot in closer to the wall. If you feel like your hamstrings are, well, they shouldn't be too tight after this practice we just did, but if they're feeling wound up still with your sits bones flush to the wall, then you want some space between you and your seat, or you and the wall. Find the position that speaks to you in the now. And you can let go and completely relax. So we have fired up different muscle groups. We've lubricated our joints. We've aided all the inner systems. Now we want to steep in stillness. The mind had a focus. The mind had to make choices on what was best today. Your mind can now take a rest from being a governing force over the body. And I would ask you to give your mind something to focus on that goes beyond the body. For instance, maybe you want to listen to the music, the traffic, the breath or your inner voice. Maybe you want to become an observer of your breath as it rolls in and out. Perhaps you need a mantra or a phrase to repeat in your mind. Give yourself one task. Stick with that for the next few minutes. Now that you've been able to assimilate, integrate some of the benefits here. Now that you've been able to just take pause, deep in stillness, notice where your body is at. Even though you're physically in this space, maybe elsewhere. So if you're elsewhere, come back, anchor into your body. Bring your mind back to the space that we're in. And start to direct some movement in your hands and feet. sliding the feet down the wall or tucking the knees in towards your chest. If you've been super. Ready, rolling to one side and coming up for a seat. Sitting up. Feel free to sit at the wall for back support. Lift your hands open on your lap. Let's sit for 7 more breaths. Prayer. Complete our practice. We'll seal our practice. But remember, the yoga is ongoing. Challenge here is to take everything we've learned off the mat. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste. Namaste. Thanks you guys for joining today. I hope it's what you needed.